What's up, YouTube? Bay Area Baller 18 back again. I'm joined by my man, Jeff Hardison. Jeff, I'm so happy you created a Twitter. I think I was bugging you for weeks. I was like, Jeff, you got to get on Twitter. People got to hear your opinion. So Jeff's Twitter handle is down right below his name, the Jeff Hardison. Give this man a follow. He's got good takes. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, man. You are the sole driving force, man, behind me getting my Twitter, because I was doing up some other stuff, and then you kept coming at me like, bro, like, where is your Twitter, man? And like, so thanks, man. Thanks for bringing me into that, and then thanks for bringing me on today, man. I appreciate me having the chance to be able to rap with you about some of this stuff, man. It's good times.
Absolutely. Jeff, today we're talking about the top 7 QBs in the upcoming draft. It feels like we've had so much time to watch these guys. Like the quarterbacks, I feel like I know them like the back of my hand. I've watched these guys just so many games and so many throws. So I really feel like I got a strong list, and I feel confident about it. But Why don't we start off with number 7? Jeff, okay. Who's your number 7 QB?
All right, so number 7 QB is going to be Kyle Trask. So I love a lot of what Kyle Trask brings. I love the fact that he played in the SEC. I love the fact he played against top level competition. He had a terrible offensive line. He's extremely accurate, able to get the ball off very quickly to his playmakers. He has a quick release, sees the field very well. So those are all the things I really appreciate about him. But we all know what we don't appreciate about him is that he is a statue in the pocket. He's a statue, man. And his ability to be able to escape, to be able to avoid pressure, things of that nature are going to be very limited. And I think it really kind of locks him more into maybe a backup role ultimately in the NFL because of where the league is going.
Okay, I agree with a lot of what you said there. When you were saying his weakness, I thought you were going to go to his arm strength, but you mentioned that he's not the most mobile guy. So
yeah.
How do you feel about his arm strength, though?
I have mixed reviews on his arm strength. He actually has. There's two different things when you're evaluating arm strength. One is going to be your deep ball, and the other thing's going to be your velocity. They're two different things. So when some people who really do like Kyle Trask go, oh, no, he does great. Look, he just, hit a pass for 40 yards down the field, but you're putting a lot of air under that pass. And the difference between that and velocity is that, in over the middle, being able to zip it in between, a corner or a linebacker and a safety, things like that. And that's where he lacks in that department, is really when it comes to velocity on his passes versus that deep down the field touch. Everything's a floater pass with him. And so I watched a lot of tape on him because I wanted to see, is it there? Is it there? Is it there? And I didn't really see it, at least in the stuff that I watched. I didn't really find it very often where he really let that thing rip. And he's so big, you would think that he'd be able to let that thing just let it unloose. But I just didn't see that. So he seems like more of a floater passer, and that's going to work to a certain extent in the NFL. But as far as being a tier 1 level starter in the NFL and projecting him to be like that, no, I just don't see it.
All right, I got to give you my number 7 guy, and that is the Texas A&M single caller, Kellen Mond. He's a guy who does not hold the ball. We talk about Justin Fields holding the ball. Kellen Mond gets the ball out. What I like about Mond is he is so nimble in the pocket. He's got his quick feet, like Jimmy's a statue. Well, in terms of, it feels like he's stuck in mud, with his feet. Where Kellen Mond is really light on his feet. I like how he bounces around. He gets rid of the ball quick. The accuracy leaves a little on the table, Jeff. When I'm watching some of these throws, they're inaccurate. He'll sail a pass, and the athleticism, it's a plus, but he doesn't have athleticism like a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance. He's not in that caliber. He brings a mobile element. And another thing I like about Mond is he's got some Alex Smith to him. He's kind of conservative. He doesn't take a ton of risks. So I like Mond, and when I say I like Mond, I like him as a backup, maybe a fringe starter. And that's where I see Mond finding his niche in the NFL. Let's move to number 6. Who do you got at number 6, Jeff?
All right, so at number 6, and this not a lot of people are probably going to like this one, but at number 6, I have Trey Lance. Trey Lance at number 6. I had to verify my list. I'm good. Okay, but yeah, so Trey Lance is who I have at number 6. The fact that look, he started 1 year at North Dakota State. He had a great year. He threw a lot of one interception in his whole career, or he didn't throw any interceptions that season and only 2 interceptions this year. So obviously that's really impressive. But the fact of the matter is he's playing at North Dakota State, the level of competition. Those are all things that kind of concern me as far as rating him as a top level passer. I love what he brings to the table as an athlete. He's a dynamic runner. He's taken a lot of snaps under center. He's wonderful with play action. But as far as, what is the bust risk with this guy? And it's really, really high. If you're going to come up with a definition of a boom or bust prospect, look at this guy right here. Look at Trey Lance. This is the guy. It's either going to go one direction or another. And I think so much in drafting, especially in the top of the draft in the first round, is mitigating risk. And Trey Lance comes with a tremendous amount of risk.
I definitely know what you're talking about. Let me tell you about my number 6 QB, and it's a guy you've already mentioned, and I got Kyle Trask at 6. And we agree on a lot of stuff that you were talking about with Trask. What I love about him is the way he maneuvers the pocket. He knows how to step left, step right. His offensive line wasn't very good at Florida, or at least for SEC purposes, it wasn't that strong. So he had a lot of guys. He was throwing around bodies quite often. And that's something that you like to see, because in the NFL, there's a ton of muddy pockets. But the arm strength, it does concern me a bit. Mm-hmm. And not only that, he's not that mobile. But I do think when you're watching Florida, man, they would run too many for my liking, but they ran a lot of QB keepers. A lot. Yeah. And it was, I'm kind of scratching my head like, you think this is going to, it's 3rd and 6 and they're running a QB keeper. It's kind of like, I don't know, not with Trask, but I think Trask is another guy where he's going to be a good backup. And if he's your starter and you built a really good team around him, you can win some games. But that's why I got him at 6. I think he's going to be a good backup.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff. I want to hear who you got at 5.
All right. So at 5, I have Kellen Mond at 5. So there's a lot to like about Kellen Mond. First off, kind of the opposite of a Trey Lance. He has a multi-year starting experience in the SEC. So he played against a really great level of competition. Other things to really consider about him when you're watching his tape is the fact that, he doesn't really have a great supporting cast around him. His tight end was decent, but other than that, he really didn't have much. There's some earlier tape from his college career of him throwing some passes to name escapes me, on the Cardinals.
Christian Kirk. Yeah,
Christian Kirk. Sorry. Yeah, Christian Kirk. Yeah. Thank you. And so that was probably I don't know, was that the best receiver he had in all of his entire collegiate career?
There was a tight end I know that got drafted, Sternberger. He was there, but you know what? This guy went to the NFL and he hasn't done nothing. So did Kellen Mond elevate him and make him look better than he was? It's looking that way.
I think it looks that way. I think he's elevating a lot of these guys, because I actually thought we were going to get more out of Christian Kirk in his NFL career, and that stuff kind of fell short. He kind of fell off. He was kind of a poor man's Odell. At least that was my take on him during the draft.
No, I see what you mean. Yeah, he's shifty, and I think Kirk's a solid player, but he hasn't had the volume of like receptions and yards that you would think, a player of his caliber would get. Now,
right?
He's 2 or 3 years into the NFL now,
right? So as far as Kellen Mond, though, as the quarterback, so I love his athleticism. He does have the ability to escape the pocket. He does have the ability to be able to roll out. He was under pressure a lot, so he handles pressure. The fact that he knows he's going to get hit, delivers the pass, that kind of mental toughness and physical toughness are definitely things that he brings to the table. Things I don't like, though, for some reason, when he throws the ball, it hits the eye wrong. He's so stiff in his shoulders. he doesn't look like a natural thrower of the football. It looks like it's something he learned when he was like 15 years old or 16 or something like that. It looks like he hasn't been doing it very long. You know, some of these other guys, they just look like they've been doing it effortlessly their whole life. And it doesn't look that way. And I hate to hold that against him, but I'm just
Jeff, you just killed that, because I agree with just every aspect of what you said about it's kind of just robotic. He's just not a natural thrower of the football. So
yeah,
keep going, please.
Yeah, it just that's what I mean though, because sometimes he'll throw it and it's an accurate pass, and so the result was what you wanted, but it just, my God, it looked ugly. It reminds me a little bit of Kaepernick. Kaepernick had a really ugly throwing motion. It was fun to watch because Kaepernick had just a rocket. It was like I equated it to like.
Yeah,
go ahead.
All Kaepernick has was a fastball and no changeup, right? And he had no touch. Everything was just a laser.
That was it. It felt like if you put a rubber band at the end of your thumb and pulled it back and just snapped it, because he had that elongated release and everything. Kellen Mond has actually a much quicker release than Kaepernick ever did. So he has a much he's more innate as far as being able to hit slants and quick outs and things of that nature. He has serviceable arm strength to be able to make all of those passes. So I like all those things about his game.
Great. Let me tell you about my number 5 QB. So our 7-6-5 guys are the same guys, just in a different order, because I got Trey Lance at 5. Okay. And Lance, you highlighted the risk, right? He was your number 7 guy. Was he your number? No, he was your number 6 guy.
Number 6.
Number 6, excuse me. So you highlighted some of the weaknesses and things that we're worried about with Trey Lance. But I'm going to play devil's advocate, because he's got all the tools, just like Justin Fields. He's got all the tools. He's got the rocket arm, and this guy, he moves like a running back. I mean, he's a running back and a quarterback in the same body. And the last time I've said that was about Lamar Jackson. I said Lamar Jackson is a running back and a quarterback in one. Now, maybe not an elite quarterback on his own. He doesn't have an elite arm by himself. But Lance is definitely bringing that dual threat. And when you watch, he has a heck of a highlight reel. When you watch some of his deep throws, the ones that do hit, because he misses quite a few of his deep attempts, from his 2019 season or his one game he played in 2020. But when he does hit, it gives me flashes. The release, the arc, looks like Donovan McNabb, Jeff. That's what I see. When he does hit it, it's like, man, I'm seeing some flashes of McNabb. Now, it's not there throw in and throw out. Some of his mechanics have been highlighted. I've seen where he dips his head when he throws.
He does.
Yeah, so that's got to affect your accuracy. Anytime the eye level is moving, it's going to make you – but I think that's coachable. So if he can improve his accuracy, when you bring up Josh Allen, that doesn't happen all the time. But if he can improve it to a degree, I think we're looking at what could be a special QB. I mean, I got him 5, but he's a guy, if you're at the end of round 1, or if you're in maybe the middle of round 1, I think he's worth the gamble. He's a project. He's not going to be ready this year to win, but he's a guy who could carry you, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. So that's why I got him at 5. Yeah.
He needs the Jordan Love treatment. He needs to go somewhere where there's an incumbent starter and the kid can just sit there for a few years, because all the stuff you're saying, as far as, especially, I'm glad you brought that up, it comes down to a lot of his footwork, and the fact that he dips himself down before he throws. So there's a lot of movement that's happening before he releases the football, and that can lead to a lot of inaccuracy. And you actually do see that on tape. When he does become inaccurate, it's when he does a lot of things like that. The reason why he does that, I don't know. It's just how he naturally does it. But it's something that will definitely have to be coached out of him. He's the kind of guy, I just wish he would have stayed in college. I just wish he just would have stayed in college. I mean,
he got his season cut short. That's what killed him. I mean, he stayed and he only got to play one game.
Yeah, they had this game scheduled with Oregon, and God, I was so excited to see that. And that would have been just killer to watch him play in that sort of a situation, higher level of competition.
Yeah,
we answered a lot of questions about him. and I think helped him develop as a quarterback. He's a kind of, just because everything that happened this year, I was really hoping for his sake that he would have chosen to stay in college, maybe transfer to Clemson, go play in the SEC. I mean, there's a vacancy there.
So there would have been schools if he wanted to transfer. There would have been some schools calling up. Yes, Trey Lance, we'd like to have you here.
Yeah, there'd be no shortage of takers, and I think he could have found himself a really cool opportunity to go play somewhere and develop a little bit more, because I think the tools are, all the pieces are there to the puzzle, but they're in a box and they're all jumbled up. And you're going to have to construct it all. It's a DIY thing. You know what I mean? So and that's the problem is, do we have all of the pieces in this box right here? And I don't know until we try to put it all together. And that's the gamble that you're taking with Trey Lance. And that's why he's so boom or bust.
Hey, Jeff, let's move to number 4.
All right.
Who do you got at number 4 on your QB list?
All right. So I have to preface this with number 4, number 3 in my list were really hard for me. This was the hardest sticking point of the entire list right here in the rankings.
Me and you both. I have a feeling we're debating the same guys here.
Yeah, I think we are debating the same guys. So my guy that I have here is going to be Justin Fields. So yeah, it's hard because this is a guy, man, he can do it all as far as being a passer, being a runner. He's a dynamic athlete. He's a leader. He's tough. He brings so much of what you're looking for in a quarterback prospect. He checks a lot of boxes. He's a dynamic thrower down the field, but there's some bad tape. There's not just 1 or 2 games. There's a decent amount of bad tape. And even in some of his good games, there's still some bad tape in there. So there are some fundamental issues with him, and it comes down to processing and how he sees the field post-snap. I think some of that is how he is coached at Ohio State. I don't think that he is necessarily taught or expected to go through the entire list of or the entire progression. But he's not doing that. And there's times where he's blitzed and he's not seeing the quick out, the hot read, if you will. Those are things that concern me a lot as far as him as a quarterback. Because if you don't handle blitz as a QB in the NFL, guess what's coming? You're going to get blitzed constantly. If they sniff out that you don't handle pressure well, you're going to get all of the pressure, and they'll just hang back in man and just, okay, try to beat me. So those are things that he's going to have to overcome as a quarterback for sure. But as far as a guy that has every ability, and I think honestly, Justin Fields may have the highest ceiling of any quarterback in this draft.
I'm not going to argue with you there. And I definitely can see where you're going with that. My number 4 guy, Mac Jones. And I know we probably got a little action there. I really like Mac Jones. The more I watch Mac Jones, the more I like him. And when the Niners were picking at 12, that was the guy I was like, I'm cool with Mac Jones at 12. I was happy with that. I think he's got some Kirk Cousins to him. This guy's got tremendous anticipation. He doesn't hold the ball. He's also, him and Trask maneuver the pocket pretty well. And they talk about Mac Jones like he's a statue. I think he's got a little more mobility than people want to give him credit for. But what you're going to get from him when you draft Mac Jones in the first round, you're drafting his brain. You're not drafting his arm or his legs. He almost gives me, I'm not comping him to this guy, but when I was watching him, and I have to admit, it was at like 1 a.m., Jeff, so I was half asleep. But when this guy was just throwing dime after dime, and I'm watching every throw. I'm not just watching his highlights, but it almost every throw looks like highlights because he's completing like 78% of his passes. And I was getting flashes of Peyton Manning, Jeff.
Okay.
It was just with the command and the accuracy and the touch. And I was like, you know what, if the Niners stay at 12 and take this guy, but ultimately I really like Mac Jones, and him being at number 4 is just a testament to how good this QB class is. This is a tremendous QB class.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, all of these guys would be top 10 guys in any draft. I think, I
Me
mean,
too.
some of these guys aren't, but yeah.
You got three guys that could be a number one pick, maybe even four. I wouldn't put Mac Jones in that territory, but Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, I feel like they could be number one picks in any year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just depending on the quarterback class, Zach Wilson could easily be a number one overall pick. Justin Fields could be a number one overall pick, just depending on the class. But this is an uncharacteristically talented quarterback class. It's pretty nothing less than incredible.
All right, let's bring it to number 3.
All right.
Who's your number 3 guy, Jeff?
All right. So number 3 is going to be Mac Jones for me. So it was a real toss up between him and Justin Fields for the 3-4 transition there. But I love what I see from Mac Jones from a lot of different standpoints. I think let's talk about what hates about him is that his athleticism or lack thereof. I think that he is a lot more athletic than people give him credit for. I think his arm strength is a lot better than what people give him credit for. And what we were talking about before with Kyle Trask, as far as deep ball versus velocity, well, Mac Jones happens to have both. So he has that the ability to be able to put it on a line and rip it and be able to beat coverage out. He anticipates, he throws receivers open, and he's seeing the entire field. He's seeing the hot read. He sees when the blitz is coming. He changes protections. He does all these different NFL things. Yes, he had a great offensive line. Yes, he had the best weapons anyone could have ever asked for. So those are some of the things that are difficult in the evaluation. You have to figure out who's elevating who. Is he doing anything with this, or is he not doing anything with this? But the fact that he had the highest completion percentage of any quarterback in college football history, threw for 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns. What was it? 3 interceptions. I mean, that's an incredible year. And I don't care who you are with what kind of weapons, you cannot put an average quarterback in there and have them have that kind of a year. It's not going to happen. So a lot of these criticisms, I think, are a little bit overstated. As far as Mac Jones is concerned, I think he's a classic Kyle Shanahan kind of guy. As far as his mental processing way, being able to absorb an offense and be able to see the field and do things. Absolutely. And when we were sitting at 12, I was really crossing my fingers. I was thinking Mac Jones would be the guy, and I would have been happy about it. But obviously now we're up to number 3 overall. That changes things. And you're going to have to figure out what it is you want in a player and what you prioritize more. So in this case, though, based off of his production and how consistent he was last year, I went with Mac Jones at number 3.
And I'm not going to fault you for it. My number 3, I got Justin Fields. So the two that you were flip-flopping on, I was wavering too. I went with Fields just for the higher upside. And I love Justin Fields. I remember watching, the camps, the QB11 camp with Trevor Lawrence was in that class, and Trent Dilfer was like hosting it. Oh, Trent Dilfer! You should have seen the way Trent Dilfer was talking about Justin Fields. I mean, just fawning over Justin Fields. But I love the fact that Justin Fields, he checks every box, maybe with exception of the processing. But he can throw on the run. He can throw down the field. He can throw short. He's mobile. I love Justin Fields. And like you said, he could be the best quarterback out of all of these guys. And that just speaks to the strength of the class. I'm excited to watch Justin Fields, and I'm hoping that the Niners are pulling the trigger on him at pick 3. And we're going to find out here in about a month, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, the good news is at number 3, I mean, they're going to have a chance at either, Zach Wilson or Justin Fields. So either one of those guys will be available no matter what happens. So that's exciting. And yeah, I'm glad that we do agree on that. As far as I think that if you can unlock some of the inconsistencies in Justin Fields' game, he could end up being the absolute better than Trevor Lawrence for sure. As far as what he is as an NFL quarterback. And going to the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, and getting that type of grooming, it could work out really well for him. It could be a great situation.
Beautifully stated. Let's move to number 2. I think I'm going to know who your number 2 guy is.
Yeah.
But let's hear it. Who you got at 2?
Number 2, Zach Wilson, BYU. Yeah, shocker. So listen, he's an incredible athlete. Just what
he's
he can do.
So fun to watch. I love just watching him play.
It's so fun to watch. And people kind of want to call him a Manziel. This guy has way more talent than Manziel ever wish he had. It's not even close. I mean, if the way that he can effortlessly, flick the football down the field. When we were talking about Kellen Mond and how robotic he is and tight in the shoulders and it doesn't look natural, watch Zach Wilson. That's a guy who's been throwing a football since he was 3 years old. It just comes naturally to him. He can off his back foot, standing on his tippy toes, doesn't really matter. That thing he can sling it 60 yards down the field and it's just going to get to where it needs to go. So it's really exciting to watch that from a fan's perspective. The concerns I have is, first off, he played at BYU. So level of competition is definitely going to be a concern. He did have shoulder surgery, which is also on his throwing shoulder, which is a concern. But it seems to not be affecting him now. It's just something that you're going to need to look into pre-draft and clear that through medical. But overall, I mean, he's a fantastic prospect. I think he sees the field well. I think he can hit the quick slant, which is a big deal for Kyle Shanahan. He can hit the quick out. He can hit it deep. He can roll out. He can do big leg. He can do everything. You can do anything you want. What you need to do, though, is you have to control him. You need to harness some of that. He's a backyard football kind of guy. He wants to run around, do different things, and throw it sidearm and do a lot of stuff, which is exciting. But he's going to need to learn a little bit of football maturity from a quarterback's perspective and run the offense first. And then when things break down, get crazy, do different stuff, and then go be a superstar. But run the offense first and then do the other things. If you can hone that in and control it, that would be you might have yourself a hell of a player. The other concern that I do have is that he's a little bit he's on the thinner side. He's on the lighter side. So I think he's right around like 210 pounds, right in there. So he's definitely thinner and over the course of his career taking hits, which he's inevitably going to take. I don't care how fast you are and how good your offensive line you have. You're going to take some hits. So, but yeah, I love him as a prospect, and he's definitely number 2 in this draft.
You know what? You killed it. I agreed with literally everything you said about Zach Wilson there. And what I love, you mentioned it, is just his ability to throw on any platform, any arm angle, rolling left. The throw where a right-handed quarterback is rolling left and he has to turn his body and laser a ball. That's one of the toughest throws. This guy does it effortlessly. He can do it in his sleep.
Absolutely.
He is just such a natural thrower of the football. And I mean, his mobility he's not tier 1. He's not Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson, but his feet, I mean, he's in that next tier of mobile quarterback, and he's got tremendous feet and quickness. And I love how he protects himself. And this is something I forgot to mention about Trey Lance. Trey Lance never slid once in his life. Trey Lance never slid. He's running everyone over. That might work in 1AA. You get to the NFL, and we got different breeds of linebackers there. Zach Wilson does know how to protect himself. He does slide, but when he needs to get a first down, he will try to do a little something. You probably want to coach that out of him in terms of Zach Wilson trying to run someone over. You mentioned he's thin, so protect yourself. I think he's got a heck of a future, and if the Niners can find a way to get him, I don't know if we're going to have to move up a spot to the Jets, but I love Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I love him too. And, one thing that is underestimated sometimes, we talk about it like in corners, their hips and having fluid hips. Zach Wilson has really fluid hips because you talked about rolling to the left and being able, but what you have to do is not just turn your torso, but you have to flip your hips to square up to your target. And he does that effortlessly. And he was also a big time basketball player as well. So you can just see that he really is a dynamic athlete. And all these guys that used to play basketball and stuff, they end up being really, really good athletes and just being able to manipulate their body.
I love the baseball. Yeah. I think he's had to have played some baseball just with the off platform. I know Justin Fields played baseball. I feel like baseball really helps quarterbacks too.
It does. It does. But there's a lot of great players over history as well for baseball and basketball. But Zach Wilson was a multi-sport athlete all throughout like high school and stuff like that too. And so you can really see that on film. You can see that athleticism when he does different things and he gets himself in a tight spot. He's able to do stuff physically that just simply other people can't do. And he's incredible to watch. Just got to harness it in with him.
Hey, Jeff. We got to get to our number one guy, the number one guy. I mean, teams have been eyeballing this guy. It feels like since like 2017. It's like, hey, teams are trying to accumulate draft picks for the 2021 draft. It's been going on for years.
Yep.
And
yep.
Both of us, we got Trevor Lawrence. It's no secret. He's the number one QB. How do you feel about him?
So here's the thing. He is the number one QB, but it's not for maybe the reasons why everybody thinks. So what I love about Trevor Lawrence is his experience as a starter in college. He played in the SEC. He's played in big games. This was something that was significantly missed on the Deshaun Watson evaluation when he played, coincidentally at Clemson as well. But he played in big-time games, the way he handled pressure, the way he was composed as a person, as a quarterback, and it translated to how well he handled himself in the league. And I see that with Trevor Lawrence. I see that ability to be able to handle himself under high-pressure situations. He's played in a lot of big-time games, and that's one of the things that I really covet, that you've also have several years worth of tape to be able to prove that he can do that. With all these other quarterbacks, you really don't have something that most of these guys have. We have 1 year of starting experience. I mean, like Mac Jones, he started like 17 games, Zach Wilson. I mean, he has a couple of years, but really only 1 year of production. So he's kind of a 1 year wonder. What are you actually getting with him? But with Trevor Lawrence, the reason why he fits that number one overall billing is because he's such a safe pick. He has such a high floor. He has ceiling, but he's got a high floor. And when you're mitigating risk with a draft pick that high at number one overall, he's a great selection. However, he's not the second coming of Andrew Luck. He's not. He's advertised as the second coming of Andrew Luck, but he's certainly not that. There are some inconsistencies to his game. Sometimes he doesn't see the field well. Sometimes he is inaccurate where his feet get away from him. So there are some issues as far as that's concerned. Andrew Luck did not have any of those problems. He checked literally every box. And so when you're comparing him to the best players that have ever come through the draft process, I think he falls short, but he's certainly fitting of the number one quarterback billing for this year, which is impressive because it's a hell of a class.
Absolutely. I got Trevor Lawrence at 1. And what I love about Trevor Lawrence is it feels like he doesn't have any weaknesses. I did see some inaccuracy, like you mentioned, but I mean, it's mobility, check. Arm strength, check. Intermediate, deep accuracy, check. He checks every box, and I think every quarterback can always work on something. Decision making is never flawless. Nobody makes a perfect decision every time, but Trevor Lawrence, the guy, he just doesn't have any weaknesses, and that's the benefit of drafting a guy like Trevor Lawrence. You mentioned he's played 3 years and he's played in big games. It's going to be fun to watch. Hopefully Jacksonville and Urban Meyer. I'm kind of an Urban Meyer skeptic. I'm not a big Urban Meyer guy. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But, I hope the best for him. He's another fun guy to watch. Oh, and he's so thin. He is really thin.
He's thin, and that's a concern. Yeah. He's thin. He's 6'5", and he's like 210 pounds. He's thin. He weighs about as much as Zach Wilson, and I called Zach Wilson thin. And the thing with Lawrence is that he's a very long guy. He has very long arms and legs. He's kind of lanky. That also translates a little bit to his release, to his throwing motion. He has a longer throw than other guys do in this class. It actually could be an issue if he's trying to hit some of the short passes, quick slants, one step, things like that in the NFL, because he's going to have to wind it back so far.
Oh, those defensive ends they're swatting the ball. You got a long release, and you might be forcing some fumbles. So that it's something you got to watch.
So it's something they're going to have to watch. But on the other hand, one of the things that I found so interesting about last season was when Lawrence wasn't able to play because of COVID. And you could see then the value that Lawrence brought to Clemson and how
they barely won, right? They won, but they barely snuck it out.
They like barely snuck it out. And
yeah.
And I wish I could remember the team off the top of my head, but it really showed me that, wow, this guy really did come in and elevate the entire team to his level, to his standard. And that's why they were so successful for several years here, is really in large part to his high level quarterback play. So as many things, I have to find a way to be able to critique the guy. You know what I mean? So maybe it sounds like I'm a hater. I'm not, I swear. But I have to find something. I can't just say, yeah, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread or whatever. You know what I mean? I can just be just like, oh, let's crown him. He's MVP. But, there's some things he definitely needs to work on. But as far as mitigating risk and the type of guy you're getting, I mean, he's great. Great quarterback.
Hey, Jeff, you know what? I love having you on. We got to do this again.
Oh, absolutely.
Thanks for coming on my channel. And you killed it today, man.
Well, man, this was fun, man. So I really appreciate the chance to be able to come on, be able to rap with you about these quarterbacks and stuff today, man. It was awesome, and we'll do it again, man. We'll find another topic. I'll come back. We'll do it again.